Hi, I'm Larry Richardson, your step-by-step chef. In this episode, we're going to make a very special version of green beans almondine. It is lemon pepper pork green beans almondine. Try saying that. Now, this is a very easy dish to put together, and it actually builds on another video I made, which is just called green beans almondine, the basic vegetable dish. So let me show you how to make this version. Come on, let's cook. Okay, so here are the ingredients we're going to use for our lemon pepper pork green beans almondine. First of all, we have 1 pound of green beans. We're going to use 4 tablespoons of slivered almonds, 5 tablespoons of butter, 2.5 tablespoons of lemon juice, 3/4 teaspoons of salt, 2 crushed garlic cloves, which are completely optional. If you don't like garlic, you don't have to use those. We're also going to use 1/2 pound of lean pork, 1/2 teaspoon of ground black pepper, and 2 teaspoons of vegetable oil. So you can see this is a pretty simple dish. So let me show you how to put it all together. Okay, the first thing I like to do is prep our ingredients that have to be worked with. And in the case of the green beans, the first thing you want to do is just take a look and make sure that they've been stemmed. Make sure that the stem where they used to attach to the bean plant has been removed. You don't want anything dry and chewy in this dish. And then all I do is I just take the green beans and I just want to cut them down to a smaller size. So I'm just going to line them up, and they've already been rinsed off, and then just cut them at a slight angle, and I would say give them about 2-inch segments. That looks really good. It's just easier to eat that way, so you don't have to spend a lot of time working with a knife when you're eating your green beans almondine. And again, if you have to use larger green beans, a thicker green bean, it's just going to take a little bit longer to cook. I really like these French green beans because they're very delicate in this dish. So now I'm just going to do that again. Just give the beans a little cut. This also makes it easier to work the sauce into it. And I'm going to put the green beans as I cut them into this colander. And this is kind of a casserole-y dish in its own way. It has a lot of butter in it, but it has that slight bit of exotic taste because of the lime. There's more of our green beans. And I'm still keeping an eye out for those, there's one, for those little stemmy pieces. And I just pulled that off. Again, you don't want anything chewy in this dish. There we go. And while I'm doing this, I actually have my frying pan. I have a cup of water starting to boil in it. That's what we're going to place the beans in. And we're going to make them cook just a crisp tender. So it's a very quick process. You don't want the green beans to go completely limp in this dish. Okay. And now all we have to do is crush our garlic. And if you don't have one of these garlic crushers, of course you can mince it. Just make it a really fine mince. You don't want huge pieces of garlic in your green beans almondine. So here we go. There's one. Let me put the rest of that flesh in there. There we go. And there's the second one. And as I always say, if you really don't like garlic, this is optional. But I do find that it adds quite a bit of flavor, actually, to the green beans almondine. Keeps it from just being a lemon dish and with a little bit of almond. And then we'll make our 1.5 tablespoons of lemon juice. And I tend to like this dish a little bit more on the citrusy side than some people. Maybe it's because I live in Florida, I don't know. But if you're not nuts about lemon, you might want to add just 1 tablespoon of lemon juice to it. And then you can add a little bit more if you want to season it up. But that's totally up to you and up to your taste. So I'm just using the squeezer. And I'm just going to add a little bit more to that. This lemon's a little bit dry. And there we go. Now I'm going to meet you over at the stove. Okay, so here's our cup of water already boiling. Just going to put the green beans right in it. And I'm going to put a cover on that, bring it back up to a boil, and then I'm going to check it in 3 minutes and see if the green beans are crisp but tender. That's what we're shooting for. We don't want these super limp or overcooked. If they're not, I'm going to give them a few more minutes. So 3 minutes later, I give them a little bit of a check. And they're ready. These are ready. So what I'm going to do is turn the heat off, remove them from the heat, put them in that colander and chill them down because I don't want them to cook any more than they're cooked right now. And here is our Almondine saucepan, and I'm putting in our 4 tablespoons of butter, and this pan has been preheated at just under quarter heat. So I just want to melt this butter down. And then we add our 4 tablespoons of almonds. These good slivered almonds. We're going to get these browned up. And as usual, you can adjust this recipe in any way you like to your taste. This just happens to be the way I like it. Okay, so I have these browning over medium heat. You can see that the butter is starting to simmer. I don't absolutely want to burn the butter, so you have to be careful with the temperature. You might want to drop it down just a little bit. I just went back down to quarter heat because mine was really starting to smoke. Okay, about 5 minutes later, I'm pretty pleased with the way the almonds are looking. So I'm adding in my garlic, and I'm going to cook it with the garlic for 1 minute, just to give the garlic a chance to break down and mix in with all the flavors. But you don't want to caramelize the garlic or the butter. So only a minute. And then we're going to take this off the heat and add in the lemon juice. Okay, that's looking good. I'm just going to move the pan to the side. Now I'm adding my ½ teaspoon of salt. There we go. And here comes our lemon juice. And we're just mixing this in. And here's our green beans. And again, I did chill the green beans down so they stopped cooking. I just ran cold water over them in my colander because I didn't want them to get all limp. And you just stir this in. That is one delicious vegetable dish. Green beans almondine. And you can warm this up either on the stove or in your microwave for a minute, make sure that it still has some heat. But this is looking pretty good. That's the way I like it. Now while our green beans are cooking, let's prepare the ingredients we need for our lemon pepper pork. And we are going to need 1 more tablespoon of lemon. So I'm just going to chop it in half and give it a quick squeeze. And I like to prepare these ingredients ahead of time because if you're already cooking something and then you all of a sudden have to run over and start chopping stuff, you can really lose time and lose control over the dish. So I just need 1 more tablespoon of lemon. There we go. And I'm just going to set this aside. And then I'm just going to take our ½ pound of thin sliced lean pork and chop it into bite-sized pieces. And again, this is going to be mixed in with our green beans almondine. And to make sure that it blends in really well, I'm going to cut these strips in half one more time. Gives us nice little bite-sized pieces. And I really like to serve this dish over rice. So I already have the rice cooking, so that once the green beans and the pork are all stirred up together, I can just sit down and eat, which I absolutely am looking forward to already. I am hungry. And one of the secrets I find with making good white rice is if it calls for a cup of rice and 2 cups of water, cut off a quarter of the last cup of water, the second cup of water. It tends to make it a little bit fluffier. On the other hand, if you like your rice soggy, either make it with a full amount of water recommended or even add a little bit more than that. I don't know too many people who like soggy rice. Okay, so there we go. Our pork is ready. So here's our pan. It has preheated at medium heat. I'm adding our 2 teaspoons of oil. One tablespoon of butter. That butter got kind of melty. Must be my studio lights. And then I'm putting the pork right into it. And make sure to stay on top of this. We do want the pork cooked through. We don't want to burn. You have to kind of split up the pieces a little bit. And the reason I use the butter and the oil is I want the pork to have a little bit of a browning color to it. And I find that if I just use the oil, it can take too long. The butter tends to add a little bit of that brown color just by the nature of the butter itself as it sizzles. Fight the urge to add the lemon juice until you have this off the heat. If you try to cook this with the lemon juice in it, then the problem you're going to have is the lemon juice gets really weird. It just does. Citrus does not handle high heat very well. And I want to make sure that these pieces are cooked fully through. Since they're so thin cut, I shouldn't have any problem with that. But I don't want to see any pink when they're done, because they're really not going to cook that much in the green beans. The green beans are just going to be sort of heated back up a little bit, but again, we don't want to overcook the green beans and make them limp. So that's why we have to make sure that the pork is all the way cooked through when we're doing this. And here comes my 1/4 teaspoon of salt. That's a nice quick bunch of salt. And then a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. So at this point, I pour the lemon into the pork, so it's all mixed in there, and I'm just giving a little bit of a stir. I want to get that lemony taste onto all of this lemon pepper pork. And if you want, you can add some more pepper to it at this point. And then what we're going to do is just take it over and stir it into the green beans almondine. So here are our prepared green beans, and I've kept these warm over quarter or just over quarter heat. You know, I don't want to make the green beans go all limp on us again, but I did want them to be warm because I'm ready to eat this. So now I'm just adding the pork in and just stirring that into the dish. That's going to be delicious. You got the green beans, you have the pork, you have the almonds, you have the butter, you have lemon, you have garlic. So come on, let's eat. So congratulations, look at what you just did. You just made this lemon pepper pork green beans almondine. Man, it is delicious. I have this on a bed of rice and I can't wait to eat. If you want a printable version of this recipe, please go to my website stepbystepchef.com. There you will find this recipe along with dozens and dozens of recipes and step-by-step videos for many, many delicious meals. So my name's Larry Richardson. I am your step-by-step chef, and I'll see you in the next episode.